Welcome to the Lemons and Pineapples podcast, the personal development podcast for folks who want more fulfillment, connection, purpose, and joy in life. I'm your host, Emma O'Brien, a no-nonsense coach, a seasoned entrepreneur, photographer, rescue dog mum, and happy life enthusiast. Each week on the podcast, I share tools, tips, and strategies, amazing guest interviews, and uplifting conversations that will help you improve all areas of your life. Let's dive in. Hi folks, a very warm welcome to season 5, episode 7 of the Lemons and Pineapples podcast. Today I'm going to be talking to you about Shamanic Soul Retrieval, which is a really hot and exciting topic to be talking about. It is the most requested thing that I do as a shamanic practitioner. And it's something that I guess it sounds like it's a little bit obscure, and I wanted to just explain a little bit more about it and why one would book a soul retrieval and how it might be able to help you. Fundamentally, it is a way to help you reconnect back to yourself. So if you can relate to a feeling perhaps like you don't really belong, feeling like you're a bit of an outsider in your own life, feeling like you don't fit in, and also just a general feeling of being quite lost. We often struggle when we've lost connection with our purpose, we've lost connection with our joy and our life direction, and that can be the perfect opportunity to look at something like a soul retrieval to help you get back on track. From a shamanic perspective, the symptoms I've just shared with you of feeling disconnected from yourself, feeling like you're almost a passenger in your own life, feeling like you don't know what direction you're going in. Perhaps when I say feeling like you don't belong, maybe you feel like you actually don't belong on Earth. That's really a very common thing for people to feel, is I don't feel like I'm from somewhere else. This is weird. I don't know how to fit in. These are all symptoms of what shamans would call soul loss. And soul loss essentially is when you have, as a means of protecting yourself, as a response to some sort of trauma, and I'm talking big T or little t trauma here, you effectively send a part of yourself away. You exile a part of yourself to protect it. So I'll give a personal example here. I can remember when I was maybe about 5 being really shouted at by my dad, and he shouted at me and called me stupid. And to put it into context, I was 5. I had closed a door. We were on holiday somewhere. I had closed a door. Everyone was sitting on the balcony, not knowing, because I was 5, that the door self-locked. And I was trying to be, I can remember it etched in my mind, trying to be helpful. I'm just going to close this door. And I think everyone was like, no, 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 no. And I closed the door. And I can remember my dad yelling at me, "You stupid girl, you stupid, stupid, stupid child. Why did you do that?" And you can intellectualize it. My dad wasn't horrible to me my whole childhood. It's just this isolated incident I can think of. Has sat with me for, 45 years. This has sat with me. And that is a prime example of soul loss. So what has that done? What incident done for me? That's something that has kept me making sure if I talk about something or I share something, I have all the information I need so I can't look stupid. I can't be caught out by something. I am always kind of monitoring whether, how will this look? What will people think? The reason I'm sharing my shamanic stuff now, I've been up to shamanic shenanigans for the past 2 and a bit years. And it's been something that I've really wanted to share publicly. But what stopped me is, what will people think? That will be a prime example of soul loss. There is a part of me that little version of me went, okay, we can't afford to be shouted at for looking stupid, so I'm going to make sure that any kind of I'm always checking myself. How will this look? Will it be okay? Is this safe to do this? And fundamentally, when we exile a part of ourselves, often because of something somebody said or something's happened, we lose that bit of ourself. We lose access to that bit of ourself. So I guess you could say I've lost access a little bit to a childlike part of myself. I've lost connection to an aspect of myself that would throw caution to the wind and go, who cares what people think about the shamanic stuff? Just do it. But it's taken me a really long time, an awful lot of self work to get to the point where I feel confident enough and able to deal with whatever anybody's going to say, because people are going to say things, they always do. Feel confident enough to deal with it that it's not going to shatter me into a million pieces. Soul loss happens for example, if children are abused, often they will disassociate and just take themselves out of the scenario entirely. It's always a protection mechanism. If you are perhaps have been told to tone yourself down, that's something I've been told quite repeatedly. Too loud, too much, too loud, too much. If we're told that enough, the bit of us that is fun and vibrant and vivacious goes, do you know what? It isn't safe for me to be out here because I just get told I don't belong here, I'm not accepted here. So we end up kind of just silencing parts of ourselves. And when those parts of ourselves have been silenced for long enough, we don't feel like ourselves anymore, because essentially there's a bit of us that we've gone, shut up, get in the cupboard, don't come out, don't come out, not a good idea. And what soul retrieval does is it allows you to be reconnected to those parts of you that you have, for safety's sake, hidden away. But you can't live a full whole life if there's a part of you that actually is a big part that's going to drive the bus, is strapped like a hostage and bound and gagged in the bus storage compartment. Nothing works. So you might be able to relate to soul loss and to be you thinking, oh, this makes sense to me. Soul loss, symptoms of soul loss include feeling like you're a passenger in your own life. Like, I don't know why I'm here, don't know what I'm doing. Feeling disconnected from your joy or your creativity. Feeling like you actually can't show up as your true, authentic self because you're going to be told to shut up, tone it down, you're too much, or people are going to laugh at you. It's a feeling like you might be humiliated. So I'll just taper that a little bit back. It's over functioning, making sure I take care of everybody else. It is feeling lost, feeling directionless, and just not feeling like yourself. One of I had a conversation with a client last week talking about soul retrieval. And what she said to me was, I can't get in touch with my joy anymore. And I used to be so fun. And I had a great time, and I can't access that part of me anymore. And it's sad really to be going through life like that, and we don't have to, but often we can intellectually know the reason why I might fear humiliation. I worry, I got told I was stupid when I was 5, so I'm kind of worrying about it. But we can intellectually know something, but it doesn't necessarily mean we can shift that something. It has to work on a deeper level. We're dealing with really ingrained unconscious behaviors a lot of the time, and intellectualizing those isn't enough. You don't just get to say, I don't get to say to the 5-year-old bit of myself who was absolutely devastated about being yelled at, it's okay, don't worry about it. It'll be okay. Until we've done the deeper healing work on that, I'm going to forever be sitting and be like, can't say this because I might get accused of being stupid. So I've done a lot of healing work to reconnect that bit and reparent that part of myself, so I'm able to show up here and be in all my shamanic wonder. And I don't care if someone wants to write a comment on here or tells me they think I'm crazy or stupid, whatever. I actually water off a duck's back now, but it took some work to get to that point. So soul retrieval, effectively, it's a way of connecting you back up to parts of yourself that have become lost or like thrown away, really, to keep you, the organism and the person you are, to keep you safe fundamentally. And often these things are set up in childhood. So we, up to the age of 7, we are so conditioned by the things that people say to us, the things we see, the environments we grew up in. I was expert as a child at reading the room. Expert at reading the room. What do I need to do to make sure I'm compliant and everything's fine in this room I'm in? Maybe you can relate to this as well. And the older I've got and the more inner work I've done and the more I guess I've matured and the less I care, the more rebellious I've got as an adult. As a child, very rarely was I shouted at. I think that was probably why it was so awful to be shouted at, but very rarely was I shouted at because I would always make sure what's happening in the room here? What do I need to do to adjust to make sure I don't cause any ruckuses in here? Yeah, so I'm sure you can probably relate on some in some shape or form to that experience. And if you can, we end up just flattening out parts of ourselves because there wasn't always a safe environment to fully be yourself. You think of children who dance around and shout and sing and are told you're too noisy, be quiet. Again, you're told that enough, you literally shut that part of a child down. And then you might have somebody who wants to have a career singing and dancing who's been just told to shut up. It puts people on a completely different life trajectory. So soul retrieval is about going in and connecting up with little children who dance and sing and shout and want to be loud and fun and play, connecting them up, bringing them back in and actually allowing them to be a part of your everyday life, which just changes the course of it completely. When you're not worrying about what will people think if I say this thing, and you can just be more expressive and be more you. And when we feel more whole, life is a much better, happier, more joyful experience. So let's talk a little bit about what happens during a soul retrieval. So if people come to me for a soul retrieval, I will do a journey on my client's behalf to the lower world, which if we're talking about is non-ordinary awareness. So for anybody who's not really familiar with shamanic stuff, the lower world is effectively going into your unconscious, into the unconscious psyche, to go and have a look at and intuitively locate what is it that you have been disconnected from. So I'll chat a little bit to a client before we start a session and just ask them what's coming up for them, why they've come for a session, what's particularly bothering them, and what they're needing to shift and connect themselves to. And I will do a journey. I talked in episode 5 about shamanic journey work. So I'll journey with my drum or my rattle, and I will go and journey on the client's behalf into the lower world to go and relocate the parts of them that they have thrown away for safekeeping. So there's various aspects of this journey. So I'll go into the chamber of the wound, which is effectively discovering more about the original event that has caused a soul loss. And then I'll go into the chamber of the contract, and that's an agreement you will have made in this lifetime. So this is where we find limiting beliefs that when I bring them back for a client, they'll go, oh yeah, okay. Then I'll go through to the chamber of the essence. So what is the real essence of that person that they've kept hidden? What is their gift? And it's the gift for themselves and also the gift for the world. And I will also retrieve a power animal for people as well. Now, power animals are a really wonderful, they're a spiritual ally. If we're looking at it in more practical terms, they are an archetypal ally that you can use, and you can start to allow that animal to support you on your journey as you bring yourself back into wholeness again. So for instance, I did a soul retrieval last week for a client, and the power animal I brought back for her was an owl. So owls, of course, are creatures that can see really well in the dark. They can hear things, such sensitive hearing, so they can hear things that other people couldn't hear. So if you're tapping owl's medicine and energy, and you're working with owl, if there's a situation that for instance, you're feeling like you don't belong in there, you could start, what might an owl see that I can't? What am I missing here? What am I not hearing that's being said here? Am I hearing something that's being said through the filter of my wound and not actually hearing what's being said here. So it's a really wonderful tool to be accompanied on your journey back into bringing your parts of yourself all back together again. And it's wonderful. I find that power animals often speak to us as well. So you might find feathers, or you might start seeing pictures of owls, and I think it's a really wonderful way to know that you are accompanied by spirit on the journey, that you are not just in this life on your own. As an aside, I have a vast feather collection because the universe speaks to me in feathers. Sometimes owl feathers, if I'm very lucky and in the right sort of place, it'll be an owl. But I often feel soothed by it, especially if I'm having a bit of a tough day and I'm like, oh, there's a feather. So I know I'm not alone. I'm accompanied here, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like it. So I'll go and do this journey for the client. I'll collect up the things that I find in the lower world, in non-ordinary awareness, and I will then come back out of the journey and I will talk through with my client what it is I have found. And remember, we are working in metaphor here. So I might literally tune in to something that has happened for a client, which sometimes that happens. I might literally tune into that, or I might tune into something that is a metaphor for how they're feeling. It's a metaphor for something that's happened to them. And we'll come back and we'll have a look at that. And we will rewrite the contract. So we'll reshape this limiting belief that the client has got. Our limiting beliefs and our unconscious beliefs are huge behavioral drivers. And our behavior is our emotions, and our behavior drive our actions. And when we can shift those, we can shift what occurs outwardly for us because we shift what we do. And then we'll restore the essence and the gift and talk about how they might work with their power animal going forwards. So it might sound a little bit out there, but really what we're doing is working in the realm of the unconscious mind, and the unconscious mind works beautifully with symbol and metaphor and stories is what helps it to shift and change things, rather than just intellectually, well, that doesn't make any sense, or this does make sense, but why doesn't it move? It doesn't move because it needs to move unconsciously as well. And the real key piece with soul retrieval here, and I think it's the same with any shamanic journey work, it's the same with any sort of healing work. I've said this before, I'll say it again: tarot card readings, psychic medium readings, even therapy sessions and coaching sessions. Unless you choose to integrate the insights that have come up, nothing shifts. So if I'm bringing an owl back for somebody, we're going to have a look at how can you start to tap your intuition and listen to your internal voice when it comes to situations that perhaps would trigger your wound previously. How do you choose to behave differently? There's an element of conscious choice once we know what's unconsciously happening under the hood, as it were. How are you going to nurture this part of you that we've brought back? So if there's a part that feels like it doesn't belong, for instance, and I reconnect the client with that childlike part, and we scoop it up and we say to this childlike part, we've got you. This was a situation that happened when you were tiny. It was out of your control. And actually, I'm going to choose to reintegrate you back into me. And we're going to do some things to help you feel happier and help you feel better. What are you going to go and do over the course of the few weeks after your soul retrieval to help heal that part of you that was hurting? And that's where you actually have to actively choose to do something different, and you actually have to choose to participate in that healing. Otherwise, nothing shifts. So when I do a soul retrieval for clients, I will always do a follow-up session a week afterwards to check in with what's happening, see how the client is feeling, see what has shifted, see if there's still any more work for us to do. But it's really important to me that the shamanic work I do actually helps people move forward in their real everyday life. So integration is a really big part, and that means you have to step up as the client and do some bit of work with it as well. So that might mean some quiet time, some meditation, and making sure you're reconnecting with yourself so you can keep integrating what's happened in your soul retrieval session. So if you can relate to feeling a bit lost in your life, if you can relate to feeling like you're showing up for a performance every day, like, hey, how did I sign up for this role that I'm playing? And I don't want to be anymore, but I don't know how to shift it. Maybe you're in a situation where there's something different you want in your life, but you don't feel safe to be able to ask for it or speak your needs or state your truth. Soul retrieval is a wonderful way of being able to reconnect you with your power. So often if I've got a client who is feeling like they have to overfunction and comply in relationship, for instance, there'll be a part of them that for safety's sake had to do that at some point, and we need to heal that part in order for the client to be able to actually get in touch with what they want and make it happen. So it's connecting you to your power, your inner strength, your inner authenticity, all of those things that often life smashes out of us as we're going along. And it can leave us feeling isolated and like you're kind of adrift in your own life sometimes, but it doesn't have to be like that. And I think the beauty with something like soul retrieval is we don't have to go and talk about something traumatic that happened in your childhood. We don't have to talk back through it to understand it. We don't have to relive a trauma. We don't have to revisit a trauma. We don't have to do anything that's going to kind of reignite that trauma within you. It's a really wonderful way of being able to work with a traumatized part of you without having to go through any of the things that happened to create the soul loss and the disconnect in the first place. So if you're listening and you're thinking, ooh, soul retrieval is exactly what I need, please pop me a message. I put a link in the show notes. You can book a free call with me to talk this through. You can go ahead and book a soul retrieval directly with me in the show notes. And of course, if you're in Johannesburg, I have my wonderful Weaving a New Way workshop that's happening on the 14th and 15th of March in Johannesburg. And I'm going to be guiding the women that attend that through a shamanic journey, along with some practical grounded coaching to really make a big shift to something in life that's keeping them stuck, that's got them disconnected from themselves, and they just want to get over that hurdle and get things moving in the right direction again. So all of the details are in the show notes. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for being on this journey with me as I gently and courageously lift the lid on my shamanic work and the spiritual side of my life that's been ongoing, but I've kept it really quiet. So not keeping it quiet anymore. Thank you. As always, I'd love to hear from you. So you can also just pop me a message on Instagram. It's at Emma O'Brien Coach if something resonated or you've got a question. And I will see you same time next week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you've enjoyed it, please leave me a 5-star rating and a review, and make sure you share this episode with a friend who you know will also enjoy it. I'd love to connect with you on Instagram. Please drop me a DM and say hi at Emma O'Brien Coach. And for more information about coaching with me, please head to my website, which is emmaobrien.coach.com.